Good morning, everyone. It is for us a pleasure to come back to another episode of the Teaching Tidbits. We were very happy to bring this to social media, to be able to share quick tidbits with the faculty community, students, and also beyond Hostos. It is a very a great pleasure for us to have the first episode and to have very special guest for us, and that is joining us today. We are going to be talking about very important questions that affect the campus life, that affect faculty, staff, students, especially in these times of transition. We don't, it's been a long time of transition, and we still in this process that is changing every single day. But we wanted to make sure that we're able to provide a few tips, to bring a special guest and having a dialogue, and also making sure that the conversation continues through social media. And we invite everybody to make sure that you start typing your questions. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions for our guest, and the conversation will continue. I'm going to welcome my partner, my co-host for this episode today, Professor Diana Macri. Welcome, Diana.
Thank you so much. It is a lot exciting for me to be here, not just because it's my first time, but I get to interview the president. No pressure, no pressure. So it is my real privilege to read her bio, and I really, I'm just going to read it because it deserves a minute or two to be read. Dr. De Filippis earned a Bachelor of Arts degree, summa cum laude, in Spanish and English literature from Queens College, a Master of Philosophy degree in Spanish literature from the Graduate School and University Center of the City University of New York, a Master of Arts degree in Spanish literature, and she holds a PhD in Latin American literature. A published author and literary critic, she is recognized internationally as a pioneer in the field of Dominican women's studies and Dominican authors. In 2016, she was awarded an honorary doctorate in the humanities by the University of Santo Domingo, the oldest university in the Americas, in recognition of her contributions to Dominican, Caribbean, and Dominican diaspora literatures. In May 2017, President De Filippis was honored at Hostos as Educator of the Year at their annual scholarship benefit. She was inducted as a member of the Connecticut Immigrant Heritage Hall of Fame in September 2018 and was honored by the Malta House of Care as one of their 2019 Wonder Women. President De Filippis served as Hostos' provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs from 2002 to 2008. Under her leadership, Academic Affairs implemented the Hostos Academic Learning Center, which expanded non-credit offerings and via a Title V grant, fomented faculty and student development opportunities and assisted in enhancement of the Office of Institutional Research. She has served on the board of multiple educational and community organizations and was the commissioner for the New England Commission for Higher Education, something that we are so grateful for as we move through the self-study process. I said that is directly from God, heaven sent. She is delighted to be back at Hostos, and we are truly lucky to have her with us again. Good morning, Madam President.
Good morning, Professor Macri. Sue, you are so lovely and so generous, and Director Guevara. I'm very happy to be with you and with everyone else. I do have, I'm curious as to what questions you would like to ask, but I can tell you that I am very happy to be here and that this is a place. And, Hostos has this incredible past of advocacy and social justice and moving communities forward. And a present as well, and what we want is to ensure that it continues to be this shining beacon, this wonderful place in the South Bronx where so many lives get changed, transformed. And, the theory is among many of my friends who are more senior than both of you, that in this regard, that the experience has shown that any one student who is a first-time student who comes to college brings at least another 5.
Well, we, reading that bio, it's you have so many hats that you can bring, so many times that we can talk to you. Teaching Tidbits is really something that we do for faculty to kind of get the faculty. So we're going to ask you to go ahead and put on your faculty hat. I remember President Gomez always saying that he always cherished that time that when he was a professor and a teacher and all that gave him. So our questions today are going to be related to that. And we're going to start off with a very kind of grounding question, which is, how do you feel today? When you started your day, what inspired you to make today a successful day?
Well, there is something to beginning each day. I always ensure that I am up and out of bed at least an hour before I have to be. Why? Because I feel that that's a moment that centers me, that makes me feel that I can organize my day in my head as I go through the rituals, and my rituals include always reading some poetry and catching up with the news and having coffee with my husband. And so the day begins gently as I get ready to go to work. What inspired me, it was to know that I was coming to the office today, and that there were so many wonderful things that I was going to be working on. For example, these celebrations this tomorrow of Dominican heritage, and great activities, because multiple scholarships will be announced, not only the ones from the 1199, but also there's a new announcement about a foundation giving establishing an endowed scholarship. So tune in tomorrow, 2:00.
Indeed.
Okay, so that was, and we also unveiled the plaque. We filmed the unveiling of the plaque honoring the founding president of Hostos. You always need to look back and say, we owe this much to this many people, and saying thank you in respectful ways. So that was what framed my day. But people who know me will tell you that I'm always engaged in multiple projects, and I love what I do. So being in the classroom, I just want to say that to the faculty. Yeah? When I got my first paycheck as a faculty member, I ran. I was a graduate fellow, and I was getting my master's at Queens College and teaching. And I didn't think I was so great teaching, okay, when I first began. And the students were kind, I think, to me in their evaluations. But the thing is, I get my first paycheck. I really thought I had robbed the bank. They're actually paying me. You just felt the same way, right? It's like they're paying me for what I would give to be in a classroom. So, okay.
And along those lines, you mentioned about the passion about teaching, and being a writer and teaching the humanities. You realize it's a different set of talents and skills. Has this background hurt or helped you in your position being as president of Hostos during this unprecedented and difficult transition period?
I think first of all, my experience as an educator, I was in the classroom for 23 years. I earned my rank as a full professor and wrote my books and taught my different classes. So I think the humanities teach you that people matter. And also being a writer, for which I had to research, most of my books are research on the work of other people. It also teaches you to have the patience to read, to assess, to read some more before jumping into conclusions. So when I came here, there were 2 things that I knew I had to do. I had to do at least 2. All right. So if I say 2 and then tell you more, it's because there were more. But basically, it was about getting us moving through the pandemic in a way that there was a sense of humanity and care, and that sustained activities going on even as we went into a virtual world. So that was the first thing. And then tied to that was the fact that the college was engaging in the self-study. The framework had been approved, and work was beginning, and there were things, some committee assignments and some arrangements and things that had to be done to make sure that that self-study would flow. I'm so proud, by the way, so very proud of the co-chairs. They have done us all so incredibly proud. And the work on assessment and the work that, so Nelson and Kate and Babette and AJ and others is just so absolutely generous and good. So we wanted to make sure of that, and we also needed to communicate and to be heard and to share. So it occurred to me that we should create this weekly Hostos Weekly, this Semanario Hostosiano, where you would hear my voice in one way or another, so that I'm thinking of all of you and thinking of the students, and also that you would hear reports from different areas, so that what people were achieving under very difficult circumstances. The Middle States found this a very good tool, because it was communicating regularly on the progress being made with the Middle States. And so we have continued to report, and it's now one voice. When they talk about leadership, and I went for many, many years to Wellesley while I was in Connecticut for the Hertz Institute, that I think if the situation gets better, we should start sending some of our young, talented women there, who want to advance. And I used to say, my leadership style is horizontal. There's a vertical and there's a horizontal, meaning I bring to the table, I like to hear multiple voices and to engage and let folks, this was my style. You read some of the things we did as a provost. The thing that I was really grateful that I could do when I was here as a provost, and what I was able to do in Naugatuck and hope to do here, is that I would create such an environment where folks could actually feel, I'll go to Daisy and she's going to help support an idea. And I like to close the loops. I don't like to begin a project and leave it pending. You finish it. But folks, they call that in this book, Good to Great in the Public Sector, which is really a monograph attached to the business book, okay? They say, if you're lucky, you can create what is called a pinwheel effect, meaning you create the groundwork, you create the trust, you create the space, and let everybody begin to bring in their talent and make suggestions for this and work with someone like that. So if you noticed, what I emphasize regularly, above all, is that we are in this together. And we are our brother's keeper and our sister's keeper. We are nice to them. They are nice to us. Sometimes we disagree. We have to agree to disagree without hurting each other, and leaving that door open for the next project where you may all agree. So the person who agrees with you on one project may say, Daisy, I absolutely don't want anything to do with this. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. The thing is that to have that kind of trust that you can say, I can work with this, but I don't agree with this, and then be able to explain, I don't agree with it because of X, Y, and Z. So as a president, the humanities help you with one thing, and many, many things, but is to understand that, for example, that relationships and what we can create as human beings is what gives life a reason. And if you're blessed to go to the South Bronx and you can do work that is also so socially generous, then you can go home and say, boy, I'm working hard. I'm earning a good salary. I have respect. I have position. But I'm also helping others. Many people can say that. You can all say that. We can all say that. Because everything we do has this incredible impact. And you see it with the students. You see it. They are so grateful.
This is a great segue into our second question because, COVID threw so many wrench into the works. And so all of us are adjusting in so many different ways. Of course, I'm only a faculty, meaning that I don't wear as many hats as you wear. The seminario was really a nice way for me to connect with colleagues. And I do get very excited when I see colleagues won a grant or they got something published. It serves as a source of inspiration. And I'm not entirely sure what the intention was behind it, but in my mind as a faculty, it's hitting a couple of things. So you've been a teacher for a long time. How have students changed since you began teaching? And what advice do you have for faculty who are trying their very best? I have conversations with my teacher colleagues, and we are just like really baffled by this generation of students. And right?
Momento. No, listen, things change, and I learned that long ago when we began to introduce technology to the classroom and all of that in so many ways, for some of us who are of a little older generation than you, Diana, if I may call you, the students may know more about technology than the professor at any given point because they were born, many of them at this point, practically to that. I know that I rely heavily on my granddaughters who said, "Oh, abuela, you can't figure this out," and they come boom, 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 and they do it. So, but the thing is, what doesn't change, what really doesn't change, and that is, they have EduCourse and other publications have emphasized that, is that the centrality of the human connection. You talk about humanities, all right? They need to know in whatever way, whether it's hybrid or synchronous, asynchronous, whether it's on the ground, whatever the modality may be, they need to know a few things. Number one, that you believe that they can, that you love what you're teaching, and you believe in its value, and that you're going to, Hostos used to say, you go to where the student is and you problematize it in such a way, by the end of the class, if you're successful, the student will be a little closer to you in terms of understanding that the world is broader. So I mentioned, inspired by knowing that I was going to meet with you all, if you read the seminario this week, I mentioned one of the strategies that I used to get into really difficult conversations with students without taking too much time for the content of the course, and with the idea that it would give me a window that I would then call my colleague who was in counseling. Everybody knew me. I'm going to send you Daisy over there because X, Y, and Z, or call another professor, or whatever. So I have this, we call it informally, catching up with the world and our challenges in it. So what I try to do as a young girl, it was easier to do, right? I would look at the list and I would tell them, whatever you do, don't change seats the second day, because I used to memorize their names. So I knew who they were. So I would take attendance without having a roll call. So I didn't waste time with that. And we would be talking and I would say, so what's happened? What's there? Did you read the paper? Did you hear the news? How are things with you? We got into things as difficult as AIDS and its impact on women of color in our classes. You wouldn't believe the conversations we had in foreign languages at your college. Or mourning 9/11. So it gave opportunities. So recently, about 2 years ago, because the students over there said, President Daisy, we want to take a course with you. You need to teach Latino studies. So I said, ay, Dios mío. Okay, all right. So I'm on my own here. It's not like visiting anybody's class. It was mine to do. I had 18 students of all ages. And we did this process. The world, catch up with the world, and my role in it. I used to encourage them. And I said, if you bring in a newspaper clip and tell me how that impacts you. And if you do that for the 14 weeks of the class, at the end of the class, I'm going to add two points to your grade. So I did bribe, but then, so it was about the paper. It was about then we had a student who was kicked out of his home because he came out that he was gay to his family and had to move with his grandmother. There were things that came out that also allowed me. I was a president, but even I did this as a faculty to say to him, let's stay in touch and call, and I would call other colleagues and make sure, right? Students who got into all sorts of difficulties. One that was dating somebody, I can still remember, who was in prison. And the lectures that I had to give this child in my office, I said, you answer one more letter. And, and I was like, I said, this is my kid. I'm going to deal with it. So there was this 10 minutes that could be for attendance that were used to actually connect and have a conversation. Another thing that I used to do is that I used to ask them to keep a journal. So they would keep a journal. The journal had the notes from the class. They had their notes on the homework that they read. And then they had a section where they actually reflected on life, what we read. I used to teach a lot of literature, so a lot of it came that way. And I would collect those once a month and read them. And it allowed me a window into where they were. So here, yes, they're more gimmicky, they're more all of that, but they do. My granddaughter said to me, Abuela, and she's an A++ kid. I mean, I call her my little librarian, the older one. The second one is happy, right? So less dedicated. She said when they get their assignments done, and she's at Bronx Tech, the Brooklyn Tech, when they get their assignments done, there's a break where they go into a room to wait. And she said, there I get a chance to talk to my friends because I miss talking to my friends with that structure. So they're craving with each other and with us. And in the case when you are in the Bronx, in the South Bronx, where folks are in very congested, many of them houses or sometimes homeless, the space at the college creates a safe space. It's warm. There's a food pantry. There's a library. There's all those things. And I think when I talk to the students now, they tell me that that's what they miss the most.
Mm-hmm.
They miss the most having, being in a place where they're secure, where they have human connection. So they are, and sometimes I have to tell you, Diana, I hear, even because I meet a lot with the SGA and other students, and sometimes they say things that you said, ay, Dios mío. You know what I mean? And where am I going to dig really deep to get patience?
Exactly. That's the question. Yes.
Okay. So you always remember this. You always remember. It's hard, but you remember that you are a model. You are a role model. They will respond to disagreement the way you would respond to disagreement. I remember being a young girl teaching at your college. I was younger. They were all 28. I was 25 when I began teaching there, right? So I'm walking around, and I still remember her because she took many classes with me. Rosita Cheng, Peruvian Chinese, but very Americanized. She spoke Spanish fluently, of course. She was Peruvian and so on. So I'm walking around, I'm teaching, and she grabbed my arm. And she said, I really don't agree with that. And I said, great, the class begins now. Why not? And so, and you use every opportunity, and then let the other students engage them as well. I have to tell you that if there's anything I miss in this position, it's teaching.
Mm.
It's teaching.
Dr. Gomez had the same reaction towards the end of his career, how much he really treasured those times as a teacher. And so as a teacher myself, I move forward with that in my mind. Enjoy this time now, even though it's very difficult, try to enjoy it.
Well, you bring hope, Diana. When they are working with you, however tough things are, if they can get through the pandemic, having earned some college credits and move feeling that they're making progress towards a life. That is a very hopeful thing. And to me, that's what the numbers mean. When they don't come back, it's yes, I know this budget, but it's always about that life that somehow we could not touch or could not come back at this time. The thing is, though, I have to tell you, in the midst of all of this, I get an email, really angry email, from this young woman who, and they all write to me, and when it comes to me, it gets solved, right? So this young woman had been here 10 years ago and had a disagreement about a class placement, sat in the wrong class, some confusion. And she was so angry, and she just told us all off, you're awful, whatever, whatever. And I said, Diana, who's great, Diana, in my office, I said, figure it out, because this is a child that needs to be here. The reason she's so angry, was the right at the very beginning of the semester. She's right, because she's desperate. She needs to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Let's figure out how we can help her. So they write to me. So I said, no, let her. She doesn't even have to apologize that he trashed us all, 10 years ago, for whatever reason. We're going to figure it out now, how she moves forward.
And talking about the other part of the equation, the faculty, right? We know that through this pandemic, many faculty are experiencing burnout as a result of the transition, the increased demand on the time, and also the need for them to quickly develop new skills.
Mm-hmm.
In your experience, what would be the best way to handle these type of challenges?
Well, look, first of all, I think I take it seriously. It's a tough time for all of us, and we're supposed to be the grown-ups, the ones with the knowledge, the ones with the structure. But everyone is feeling very vulnerable, and I think this winter being as tough as it is, you feel like you're hibernating because of the pandemic, you're also hibernating because you're forever shoveling snow or getting somebody to shovel the snow or worrying about when you're going to pull the car out of the driveway and what have you. So I say a few things that may seem very simple. I gave you an example of how my day begins. There's a certain comfort in some organizing in some ways that allow you to take a deep breath when you can. I also found, because I began teaching while I was raising 3 kids and finishing my doctorate, that I tend to be very organized with my time. And also you could say that esto aquí y esto aquí y esto acá, all right? So you have to make time. You need to make time for your family, your significant others, your friends. If you like to run and exercise, you make time. You organize your day in ways so that when you sit down to grade the multiple papers that you must grade, you have had a chance to do some of the things that center you a little bit, and you don't feel so deprived. And there will be days where you say, I'm going to organize the week in such a way so that today I am going to just read a book that I like, or chat with friends, or do whatever you can do at this time. I am blessed in that I have a stable marriage and I have a stable home, and I don't ever take that for granted. But that also means that I have to invest in maintaining it as well. That even as I run the school, I have to worry about my husband and make sure that he doesn't think that he's not important, as well as are my granddaughters and my sons and their wives and my friends. I have a very rich, and I'm blessed with that. Many friends that I have for multiple years, many who are writers and painters and faculty members. Some of the faculty and architects writes to me still about many things. Who published a book? Who's doing that? Because we were part of it. One of them wrote, today is my birthday, and I remember that it was also your mother's birthday, so I'm thinking of you. That kind of thing, is about, that's what the humanities teach you, that people matter, that there's no the end does not justify the means, that along the way you cannot, build with kindness and be kind to yourself as well. And there might be things that you cannot do, then you say, okay, can this wait for next week? Or can somebody else pick this up? And, and go through it. But also, I need to say this as a college president, because one of the first conversations I had was precisely about faculty, with another colleague from another committee who said to me, the faculty need, yes, if you feel that this is something that is not just your average kind of, overwhelmed from what we're living through, which is a really, really difficult moment for all of us in humanities. You want to, be able to keep hope in your heart and communicate hope and all of that. But if you're feeling hopeless, there are services that the university has for faculty and staff. And there's now also an emergency line that the students text to as well. Seek help if you feel that this is just not normal, that this is over, it's too much. Seek help. There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with it.
I think for myself, in my own experience, it was a dear friend, Jackie DeSanto, who kind of snapped me out of it, because, the show must go on. Like, we're here, this is our jobs, and we have to keep going on. And I think this is the message that you're also saying: take care of yourself. But then also, we are role models for our students. And so after this period of transition and uncertainty, how do you envision the classroom in the new normal and the role of faculty moving forward?
Well, I have to tell you, I had a faculty member, I won't mention this colleague's name, who said to me, Daisy, you have to make sure that life comes back to Hostos. We're not just going to be on.
No pressure.
I'm sorry, Carlos. That is not just going to be technology. And I agree, but it's going to be so beautiful. I mean, I'm a glass half full kind of personality. Okay. My friends tease me and said the Latina Pollyanna, you know what I mean? She's, it's all in the end, it's going to work out. But you think, for example, and I'm now thinking selfishly in my position in Connecticut with the snow, where we were serving 22 towns and kids in clinicals here and there and what have you. And if we opened the college, there would always be a parent that would call and say, what does she get paid by the hour that she has to keep the college open? And so there were strategies that the faculty had that they would put on Blackboard, different the assignments and what have you. But I think being able to say that today is a snow day or is an emergency and we can go virtual, to have that versatility is tremendous support. To have also, advance in some ways. I mean, I was truly, truly impressed when I saw the digital arts animation projects that the kids did in the pandemic. And it was just amazing, the hope, and they dealt with difficult problems. One of them walking with it, whatever. So the point is, the technology is going to enrich the way you do things, the materials, the access to research, the access to images, to information, all of that is, we all learn a little bit more about this. And I think at some point, I am assuming that it would be the kind of class schedules designed in response to the needs of the students and the talents of the faculty. Some will be totally online, some will be more blended, some will be on the ground, and ultimately we will have the best of all possible worlds, Diana.
I hope. Just from my point of view is that as a faculty is really challenging me, like, get the creative juices flowing and figure out a way to make this to make this happen for dental hygiene, right? Because dental hygiene is such a hands-on kind of thing. And we're doing it. And we challenge each other in dental hygiene, to come up with it. You got to do it.
All of you, and in fact, you contribute so much to moving folks from poverty to the middle class. Those allied health and nursing programs change families in ways I remember way back reading this article in the New York Times of this kid who wanted to do X, Y, and Z, and he was struggling and all of that. In the meanwhile, his mom had gone to school to be sort of a partner. She had never gone to college. She became a nurse, and her becoming a nurse brought in the kind of income that allowed him and his siblings to go to college.
Yeah.
To have to get there. So there is incredible value to that. But I understand. I understand the creative juices will come back. Write an article about doing dental hygiene in the time of the pandemic in the South Bronx. That ought to be really interesting to see what other folks are doing and what you're doing and how you contribute. It's just great to be able to see your name on a printed page and say, this is Diana Macri's report from the trenches, you know?
I like it. I like that as a title too. I'm going to report from the trenches.
It's the trenches. You are in the trenches because you're the ones who come in. You know, you're the ones who come in. Yes.
Yeah.
And,
we'll make sure we push Diana to write that article. For sure.
I will, but she doesn't know this, but people know that I go back and I said, did you do that?
And Diana, remember that this is already in virtual space.
I'm sorry, I'm losing the connection. I'm sorry. I must not have. I didn't hear what you said.
You know, and in my approach also to promote the use of technology, it is always the intention to make sure that we understand that technology is an enabler, is a tool that is going to help us accomplish our goals. And being in this process of the pandemic, you know, there have been a lot of challenges, but for every challenge there is an opportunity, and we've seen the unique opportunity for all faculty had the opportunity to experience using the technology, teaching online, and then identifying how they could then reflect and improve and enhance their teaching approaches. How would you like Hostos to develop or expand to support the increasing reliance on technology and virtual learning?
Yeah, I think that faculty development and staff development and administration development in terms of integrating technology is really important. You will find that even sometimes the most recalcitrant faculty in terms of using technology, that once they get into it, there was a beautiful article a couple of weeks ago in the Chronicle about this faculty saying, I did not want to do this. And I got to tell you that I went through that with my oldest boy, who is a professor at Seattle University, and he is social work and he's people oriented, and this business of the Zoom zombies, he called them, you know, and all of that. And I said, well, are you, yeah, what do you want to do? And he finally, like this professor, found that there were strategies within that. For example, grading the student's paper directly and became a much easier task than having the papers, writing on them, return and what have you. It was more productive, easier to return. That was one thing. But I think basically getting support, making sure, by the way, the other thing is that safety and going back to normal will take a while. I think people are going to keep a social distance for a long time, and that and also be much more conscious of things like filters and air quality and everything else. And also, for those of you who are now talking to students, I just talked to the SGA on the matter of vaccinations, and it was a lively discussion we had on vaccinations, but it worked out really well, I thought, at the end, because I then became the mom and said, promise me that when it's there, you'll have it, you know, whatever. But do have conversations, because I think once you become, the student knows that he or she's the person, not that you're a social worker, but you could certainly refer whether they can get support. If they open up to tell you whatever it is, you get a chance to tell them. I told them the story, and you will read it uh, Friday, of my vaccination locally here in the Bronx. Uh, and my husband Stu and everybody. And I grew up hearing the stories of the Operación and the Tuskegee experiment and a lot of ways in which science was used to manipulate and use human beings as guinea pigs. But this, we're in this together, and everybody is developing whatever they have scientists of every nationality working on the developing and the administration of this vaccine. And the interesting thing is that when I went to Taft High School to get my first doses, the beginning of February, and I look at these two little girls that are, I mean, they seem little girls to me. They're young. And I said, where are you from? And one looks at me, and obviously she sees a Dominican. So she says, I'm from Santiago, not the country, but the province, right? So then I said, oh, okay. And I said, in your part, there's this group called Somos, that is a medical group, and they're all Dominicans. So by the time I got through walking through the whole thing, the doctor is holding my ID that says president of a college, right? And she looks at me and she begins a lecture. You know that this is the right thing to do and everything. And I said, sí, señora, of course. But, there's a level of advocacy. And well, you could catch it again. You could do this. People say all sorts. But this is like the Pascal bet. If you believe, you win. If you don't believe, and then there's a God, you lose. So you might as well believe there's a God, just in case, right? He used to say. So you might, I said, trust science, and trust science that is developed, intended to be used by human beings in every possible place.
Indeed.
Okay.
I'm going to quickly thank and give a shout out to the people that have joined to this Facebook Live. I have Professor Yalongo, Professor Tony Varela, Sean Garrity, a Hostos alum, Rude Holtz, Professor Juan Soto Franco, and we have a student that has been following the teaching tidbits since the beginning last semester, Carlito Diaz. He's very involved with the Leadership Academy. Yesenia Lender Montero, she was a Serrano scholar. So we see our students that are following Hostos through social media who are joining, and they're happy to see you and then sharing all of your wisdom with us. And there's a number of other people. Jose Garcia from the Office of Communications is also connected. They're sending you greetings. I don't see any particular questions from them. They're just sharing that they're happy to tune in and joining this live stream. Do you have any final words of advice to faculty, students, staff from Hostos?
Believe in yourselves. Believe that what you do is so much more valuable because of the times we live and the place we are. We are here now in this place in history, and it is our opportunity to do all we can. We cannot change the world, but we can help some lives navigate very difficult times, and that includes yours and that of your colleague and that of your president. I think everybody needs to feel a sense of kindness and respect. So I leave you with that. You are all extremely talented, the faculty. It's amazing how talented the faculty is. And who is teaching physics and knows poetry? I mean, you can go on and on and on because they're so versatile and talented. And I'm so proud. So please understand that I do thank you and that I am not in any way doubting how tough it is, because it is tough. It is tough for all of us, but we will get through this. We will get through this, and we will feel that in the end, I say to the students, when you get that diploma in May, think about what you are my heroes. So faculty and staff and students, you are my heroes. You are my heroes. Don't give up.
Wonderful words
for
of
that
wisdom,
message.
and I'm sure that everybody that hasn't joined us, but then they have this right there after this finish is going to be available in social media, in our web pages. And Diana and I are going to come back this Friday to another episode of Teaching Tidbits. We're going to be interviewing interim provost Charlie Drago, so we're happy to also have him in the Teaching Tidbits. Until then, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.